If you had told me a year ago that I'd be sitting in my car outside my own house, too afraid to go inside, I would have laughed in your face. But here I was, hands trembling around the steering wheel, engine idling, trying to summon the courage to walk into what used to be my home. I'm Aaron, 34, and married to Clara, 31, for 6 years. We had the house, the 2 golden retrievers, the weekend hikes, the perfect life, or so I thought. Things started slipping about a year ago. Clara had picked up a second remote job during the pandemic, a part-time gig doing customer support from home. Money was tight since my contracting work had slowed down, and at first, I admired how hard she worked. But then, the distance crept in. Late-night Zoom calls. Mood swings. Dodging my attempts at intimacy with excuses about being too tired. I chalked it up to stress until small things started adding up. A second phone charger plugged in by her side of the bed. Packages arriving when she wasn't home. And pizza, so much pizza. Clara used to cook elaborate meals. We both loved experimenting with recipes, sipping wine in the kitchen together. Then suddenly, almost every other night, she was ordering pizza. I even joked about it once. "You're gonna turn into a slice at this rate." She just smiled and said, "It's convenient." But the receipts told another story. I noticed the same delivery driver's name appearing on them over and over again, Kyle. At first, it didn't register. But after the 5th time in 2 weeks, I asked about it. "Oh, he's the only one who delivers around here this late," she replied too quickly, too casually. I tried to let it go. Maybe I was being paranoid. But then came the night that shattered everything. I'd been at a client's job site about an hour out of town. Got done early, so I thought I'd surprise Clara with flowers. I picked up a bouquet and headed home around 8 p.m. The porch lights were off when I arrived, odd, since Clara always left them on. I unlocked the door and stepped into darkness. But as I walked through the house, I heard voices, faint, coming from upstairs. The unmistakable sound of her laugh. And then a man's voice, low and intimate. I froze in the hallway. My heart hammered in my chest as I crept up the stairs. I could hear their conversation more clearly now. "You shouldn't stay long. Aaron could be back any minute." "Oh, he never is this early. Besides, you missed me." Then a soft moan. I thought I was going to be sick. I forced myself to keep moving until I was outside our bedroom door. It was open just a crack, and through it, I saw Clara wrapped in a pizza delivery guy's arms, her robe hanging loosely, one bare leg around his hip. It was the same guy I'd seen drop off food before, he tall, tanned, probably mid-20s. "Kyle." I couldn't breathe. I must have made a sound because Clara's head whipped around. Her eyes met mine, and the color drained from her face. "Aaron," she gasped, scrambling to pull her robe tighter. Kyle turned, his face going from smug to panicked in an instant. I didn't yell. I didn't storm in. I just stood there, flowers still in my hand, feeling like the biggest fool in the world. This isn't what it looks like," Clara stammered, stepping toward me. I laughed, a hollow, bitter sound that didn't even feel like my own. "Isn't it?" I said quietly, then turned and walked out before I could do something I'd regret. That was 3 days ago. I hadn't been home since, sleeping on my brother's couch, ignoring Clara's calls and texts. My phone buzzed constantly, her begging to talk, to explain, saying it was a mistake. But how do you mistakenly end up in bed with a pizza guy you apparently see often enough to be on a first-name basis with? And now I was back in the driveway, engine running, wondering what the hell I was supposed to do next. Because the part that hurt the most wasn't the betrayal. It was realizing that somewhere along the line, I'd stopped being the person she craved coming home to. I must have sat in the car for 20 minutes before I finally turned off the ignition. My hands still shook, but some grim resolve had settled in. I needed answers, or at least closure. I couldn't live in limbo, paralyzed by images of Clara and that pizza boy. The house was quiet when I stepped inside. One of our dogs, Luna, patted over and nuzzled my leg. At least she hadn't betrayed me. I gave her a shaky pat and braced myself for what was next. Clara must have heard me. She appeared at the top of the stairs, eyes red and puffy, wearing a sweatshirt I didn't recognize. Probably his. "Aaron," she whispered. "Thank God. Please, can we talk?" I wanted to rage. To scream. But my voice came out flat. "Talk." She came down slowly, wringing her hands. I messed up. I know I did. You caught me. There's no excuse." Her eyes filled again. "But please, it wasn't what you think." I barked out a bitter laugh. "You mean you weren't sleeping with him?" "Because I saw enough to know that you were." She flinched. It wasn't supposed to happen. At first, it was just harmless. Kyle was just this delivery guy, you know? We'd chat at the door. I was lonely, working from home all the time. You were always gone or exhausted. Here it was, my fault. Of course. I should have come to you, she continued. But it felt good to have someone pay attention. And then one night, it went further. I told myself it was a mistake, that it would never happen again. But it did. "How long?" I asked, my voice cold. She swallowed. 2 months. I looked away, while rising in my throat. "I know what you must think of me," she whispered. "But Aaron, I still love you. I don't want to lose you." I laughed again, empty, tired. "You lost me the second you let him touch you." She started to cry in earnest. "Please, just give me a chance to fix this." I shook my head. "No, Clara. You didn't trip and fall into his arms. You chose this." Repeatedly. Behind my back. In our bed. I turned toward the door. "Aaron. Where are you going?" "To get some space." "And after that?" "I don't know. But I'm not staying here tonight." Her voice broke. "I'll do anything. Therapy. I'll cut him off, I already blocked him. Please, don't give up on us." But the thing was, I already had. Over the next week, I stayed with my brother, trying to clear my head. Clara texted constantly, long paragraphs begging for forgiveness, promising change, alternating between guilt and desperation. Friends and family weighed in with every opinion under the sun. "She made a mistake, you should try counseling. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Do you really want to throw away 6 years?" But in the quiet moments, lying awake on my brother's lumpy couch, staring at the ceiling, I knew my answer. I couldn't erase the image of her wrapped around that delivery boy. I couldn't erase the months of lies. And most of all, I couldn't erase the fact that somewhere along the way, she'd stopped seeing me as enough. When I finally returned to the house to pack some things, Clara met me at the door. No makeup. No pretense. Just raw pain on her face. "I won't stop loving you," she whispered. I met her gaze, steady this time. "You already stopped." She crumpled as I walked past her. "It's been 3 months now." I moved into a small apartment across town. Filed for separation. The divorce is in motion. There are nights when the loneliness hits hard, when the ache of what I lost feels unbearable. But then I remember, what I lost wasn't real anymore. It hadn't been for a long time. I still order pizza sometimes. Different place, different driver. And every time I do, I remind myself. Some toppings aren't worth the price.